77 WABC.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
No, I get by with a little help from my friends.
If you try to harm New Yorkers or roll back their rights, I will fight you every step of the way. Our team will do whatever we have to do to identify any possible threats to these rights that we hold dear in the state of New York and protect New Yorkers.
We would be ready to respond to any attempt to roll back our rights. So here we are. We've studied their platforms. We've identified certain possibilities, fact patterns. We've created contingency plans. So no matter what the next administration throws at us, we're ready. We're ready to respond to their attacks. We're ready to respond to any attempts to cut or eliminate any funding to the great state of New York, as the governor outlined. So despite what has happened on the national stage, we will continue to stand tall in the face of injustice, revenge, or retribution.
Crazy.
We will continue to protect our most vulnerable and marginalized amongst us, because it is my sworn duty and responsibility to lead that fight, working with the governor of this great state, Kathy Hochul. This is not the time to be fearful, New York, but faithful and steadfast, knowing that I, as the Attorney General, along with my entire team, we are guardians of the law.
Yeah, right.
And we are prepared, my friends, to fight back. Thank you.
I don't know about you guys, but I found that whole press conference yesterday to be completely bizarre. That's the only word I would use. Bizarre. Here you've got the governor of New York, who's the worst governor in the history of this state. I've got it worse than Cuomo, sorry. The worst governor in the history of this state. Here you've got an attorney general who's talking about upholding the law and respect for the law when she embarrassed herself with this prosecution of President Donald Trump. You really have two of the least likable, respectable, professional women in the history of New York, in Kathy Hochul and Letitia James. I have no idea what the hell they were talking about. New York is all of a sudden under fire. By the way, Kathy and Letitia, maybe you're not paying attention, but Donald Trump in the state of New York, as I just talked about with Dove, did significantly better than any Republican has done in a long time. And with every group, blacks, Latinos, Jews. So when we talk about New York, there's one guy who can explain New York better than anybody. Hopefully, he's going to be the next mayor, but I think he's got his eye on something else. We'll get to that later. He's the host of the Rip and Read overnight weekends and does an amazing job sitting beside me every weekday morning. The icon, the legend, Mr. Guardian Angel, Curtis Sliwa. Curtis, that was bizarre. What was that?
No, it's not. Obviously, you don't understand the scorn of women the way I do. I've experienced it. I'm not going to go into names, dates, times, and places over the years. These were two women who hate one another. You got to understand that Holcomb and Tish James are like two scorpions in a brandy glass. Every time that Governor Holcomb has said, Attorney General, will you represent me, as the top elected official in New York? She said, no, I'm not representing you. I will not use the powers of the New York State Attorney General position to represent you. They hate one another. Holcomb looks over her back and says, Tish may want to primary me this time, and I'm very vulnerable. But they came together because both had been promised that if Harris had been elevated into the White House as president, Tish James would have been rewarded for her relentless attacks on everything named Trump, including wanting to basically take every nickel, dime, and penny this man and his family has ever made, legally. They want to take, right? This was her mission. She was promised you will be the next U.S. Attorney General for that. And Holcomb has been auditioning to get the hell out of Albany. She knows she's going to lose in a Democratic primary and definitely in a general election to get into a cabinet position for Harris. What do you think that last day, that Sunday?
Yes.
This is all. So these are two women scorned because they didn't listen to me. I told you the pollsters, the commentators, the consultants had made this a neck-and-neck race because more money would roll in. When it's neck-and-neck, everybody keeps throwing money into an endless race. And look, this was a complete blowout.
Complete blowout. And you're right about the pollsters. You don't know this half the time because you're just doing your shtick and you're great. But you often set me up to play great audio. You and I don't rehearse this segment. Talking about the pollsters, but you talked about yesterday.
Can I say one other thing before we get to that?
No. And how badly the pollsters screw up. Here's Jon Stewart, cut number 11.
I do want to very quickly send a quick message to all the pollsters, the election pollsters. Blow me. I don't ever want to from you again, ever. And I just want to point out, just as a matter of perspective, that the lessons that our pundits take away from these results, that they will pronounce with certainty, will be wrong.
When Donald Trump leaves office on Wednesday morning, he will leave Washington a pariah.
Donald Trump will never be allowed to set foot in the Capitol again. Never.
Ever. My point is this.
Sid,
there's a guy, Stewart.
Let's face it, this is a money-making operation. I've been in a political campaign for mayor. The consultants, the commentators, the pollsters, they're all in it for the money. Remember, one election is over. They're on to the next election. They'll go to Albania. They'll go to Bolivia, wherever the money is. And they'll lie and they'll tell the people paying their bills, oh, you got a great chance to win. Right, razor thin, both sides. You saw left-wing pollsters, right-wing. It's razor thin because then everybody keeps throwing money into this. Look, Harris got $1 billion. Now, if those polls had indicated, oh, you're 5 points down, you think she would have gotten $1 billion? The answer is no. So it's all about just squeezing the dollars out of these folks, fooling us, and then running off to the next election like, oh, my last poll, my last comment when I did as a commentator or an analyst doesn't work. But let's get back to Tish James. You love Elise Stefanik, right?
I love her so much that I texted Mike Lawler at 5 o'clock this morning to book Elise Stefanik for tomorrow's show. I really wanted Trump to pick her as his VP choice, but the truth is, now I love J.D. Vance.
Now, what did Elise Stefanik do weeks ago that I had done months ago, knowing the menace that Tish James poses to everybody in New York, especially Republicans or especially anybody who supports Donald Trump?
Interesting question. I know, of course, she's been hammering all these college, university presidents, but
excellent.
What did she do?
And Cuomo. And remember, she eviscerated
right.
Andrew.
Yes.
She endorsed Michael Henry for Attorney General, the
she
Republican,
did?
yes, conservative, which I did initially because I warned you this would happen.
Oh,
Sid.
I did. I endorsed Michael Henry years ago.
We got to start the campaign for him now. We can't wait until the end. She must be dislodged. She is obsessed with hate for Donald Trump. Did you see her eyes yesterday? I thought I was watching, oh my God, I thought her head was going to start spinning around her head, The Exorcist.
Yeah.
The anger, the hate. I'm going to defend the transgenders, the migrants, and all women. I said, my God, this woman is possessed. And Holcomb's so upset that she can't escape Albany and be in a cabinet with Harris. So you understand, these are women scorned.
Yes, they are.
But let me make mention to you and every one of my colleagues. I've already had this discussion with John Katzimatidis and Chad Lopez, who have been dancing the horror in the tarantella because we have scored the #1 ratings all time of WABC. You have led Sid in the Morning, the #1 morning show in America, coast to coast, the #1 morning host. And this is a relay race. You start the race, you put us so far ahead that, in fact, you've lapped the competition The competition, when we come on, are basically looking at our tuchuses. And they're saying, oh, my God, we're a lap behind. This is the business we have chosen. I'm telling you what it's like.
No, it's true. And just to emphasize what Curtis is talking about, I'm more than triple. Think about this for a second. I'm more than triple. I know, maybe sometimes if you're lucky, you nearly double. I'm more than triple the ratings at WOR every morning. More than triple.
And let me tell you what else you've done. Notice the last minute of the campaign. Rogan, Megyn Kelly, all these so-called podcasters, influencers, they didn't move one vote. Not one vote. Nobody listened to them and said, I'm voting for Trump. Notice they waited until the last second. Oh, I love you, Trump. Oh, I'm in Trump. Because they already saw the Trump wave. Right. They said, I'm a surfboard guy or gal. Let me get on the surfboard now.
I mean, Rogan, we played the audio, Lewis, on this show. It wasn't even 2 months ago where not only was he supporting RFK Jr., but he took a shot at Donald Trump.
And let me explain what Sid Rosenberg differently, especially after October 7th, when he went back to his roots. When I dubbed you King David II.
Which I love. It's my favorite nickname.
As I and Noam Laden discussed, and Noam was spot on, you were in a mitzvah tank, a radio and social networking mitzvah tank that we had borrowed from the Lubavitchers, because their mission is to convert Jews back. They don't go after Gentiles.
No.
Find the lost Jews.
Yeah, and they're tough, by the way. They throw you into the truck. They physically rough you up.
That's right, but they are relentless, and you were even more relentless. You had Jews on the air. You put them into the eye of the microscope, and you said, how can you defend Biden-Harris? And you were relentless, on and on and on. You move the media. You have to do that every day, every moment, social networking, but more importantly, on the most powerful radio station in the nation. So when Dov Hikind says 43% of the Jews in New York supported Donald Trump.
Which was a 50% rise from 2020, mind you.
Yeah, but how did that come about? It came about because Sid was relentless. How many times, and I'm not going to mention names, you're doing too much Jew talk. Too much Jew talk.
Oh, I got
Sid.
a bunch of those.
I know.
You were there with me, and they would say, look, not because we don't love the Jews, but it's depressing. Then I would say, well, what if I do one interview a day? How about that?
No, I defended you, Sid.
I know you did.
I said, this is crazy. Are you kidding? This guy is a real influencer. You're the one who moved the media. Now, I must correct Dov Hikind. He said, oh, yeah, look at Florida, a bedroom community of New York. Look at Nevada. Yeah, Bugsy Siegel was there, and because he said, wait, you'll see, we'll build it, and they will come. The Jew was right, and they whacked him in Hollywood, remember?
I do. Warren Beatty took a bunch more shots in the stomach than you did in real life.
Let me bust everybody's bubble out there who are dancing the horror. 79% of all U.S. Jews voted for Harris.
What number is that?
79%.
I mean, that's really got to make you nauseous.
Of course it makes me nauseous. The only time that Jews voted in more of a percentage was for Ronald Reagan when he ran against Jimmy Carter, who hate everything Jewish. He wouldn't have a kosher hot dog. He'd say, I will not on the campaign trail. He hated Jews.
It's amazing you say that, and you're a great, great student of history. And Bill O'Reilly's coming up, and I put you right with him. But he did hate the Jews, yet the Democrats,
yes,
like family members, depend him and go, wait a second, what about Anwar Sadat? What about that whole deal that Jimmy Carter put together? There's always an answer,
Of course.
But there's no doubt he hated the Jews.
But 40% of the Jews voted for Ronald Reagan in 1980 because they knew this guy hated Jews. And now I'm going to tell you why it is time for you to leave your perch as the number one talk show host in the mornings across America at the number one station.
Hold on. You just made this unbelievable case, kind of like when Jim Comey spent 30 minutes telling us why Hillary Clinton was guilty and then said, but we're not going to do anything about it. So you just went on and on about how my numbers blow everybody away, how I basically make sure all day the rest of the station does well, and now you're telling me I need to leave?
Yes. It will never get better than this, Sid. I've warned our colleagues, I've warned John Katzimatidis, I've warned Chad Lopez, that now that Trump is in office, what's going to happen the first time it's no longer a love fest and you have to criticize Donald Trump like you did almost by yourself on September 10th. If you remember, that was the time that Harris, that was her best day ever, stood toe-to-toe with Donald Trump in that debate. How long? What, an hour and a half?
Yes.
An hour, and there was content there. And you recognized that. You said, whoa, I got to tell you, Harris won that debate.
She did.
And others attacked you viciously.
Killed me.
How dare you? Can you imagine 4 years of doing that? Because you're a guy, you're not in a box. You're a Trumper, but when you disagree, you're a true New Yorker. You state your disagreements.
Of course. I mean, I still think that what he said about John McCain was grotesque. I love Donald Trump. You can't love Trump more than I do, but I'm not afraid to criticize. Exactly. Like I always say, even Pat Riley, Bill Parcells, and Vince Lombardi lost games along the way.
But why do you think people listen to talk radio? Do you think they listen because they want a love fest? Oh, I love Donald Trump. I worship him. Oh, my God.
A lot of our listeners do want that, yes.
Yeah, but that's not the people who you need to remain number one. Let me explain to you. People listen because they want to hear you attack the heel. They go to a heavyweight fight, not because two guys are lovable guys in the ring. Somebody's got to be the heel. Muhammad Ali, a.k.a. Cassius Clay, knew that. The Iron Sheik knew that. The reason they filled up the garden is there's the Iron Sheik running around with an Iranian flag, making love to the Ayatollahs. And I am telling you that there's two reasons that it is time for you to leave now and do Aliyah. David Friedman, great guy, needs to be the Secretary of State to make up for the sin of Henry Kissinger, the Jew who turned his back on the Israelis. In the Yom Kippur War of 73, he told Nixon, who hated Jews, don't send any more weapons to Israel. Israel was going to lose. And Nixon looked at him and said, I thought you were a Jew. Yeah. What the hell is wrong with you? And Nixon ordered plane after plane of weapons that everyone recognizes saved Israel that was under attack, the sneak attack of the Yom Kippur War. How quickly I remember. I want David Friedman as Secretary of State. So all these anti-Semitic leaders around the world have to sit in a room with a Jew and they got to beg him and beseech him. We need $1 billion. Oh, I hate doing this. But Sid, your calling is as United States Ambassador to Jerusalem. To go back, do Aliyah with Danielle, your beautiful son and daughter. And I tell you, this is your mission in life. You got to come full circle. You are now reborn again as the Jew of all Jews, King David II.
And the fact that you would love to do this morning show has nothing to do with... And then, of course, if I left and you got the morning show, aren't you running for mayor? Well,
I'll tell you what. If, in fact, you would agree to do that and help Israel and help America and all Jews, which good Jews need to do. If you don't defend yourself, nobody else will. I will sit with John Katzimatidis. I will say, John, this is a terrible loss that Sid will not be available in the mornings. But I tell you what. In honor of you, John and Margot, saving this station, I will give up running for mayor and become the morning show host. And you, John, you can run for the mayoralty of New York City. You see the sacrifice I would make, Sid? All for the benefit of Israel, all for the benefit of America, and all Jews globally. We all have to make sacrifices, Sid. I will sacrifice. John Katzimatidis will make that big sacrifice of the #1 morning talk show host in America from coast to coast. You got to do it for America. You got to do it for our best friend in the world, Israel. And you got to do it for Jews everywhere. I'm ready to make that ultimate sacrifice for you, Sid. King David II.